Wait, hold on. Let's see. All right, we are back. It is just me with just B. You can see the logo for the viewers, for the YouTubers. All right, let me get comfortable here. Now that I have kind of a different setup and the hiccups, which is going to make this Unfiltered Friday a frickin' challenge. But I'm like adjusting the mic. I got this little padded thing, kind of like a foam roller, but it's like a half moon shape that I put in my chair and lean backwards and or on the floor and lean like kind of over it and stretch out my back. But it's nice under my desk here. Is a little you know, footrest. In offices, some office workers know this. They have those little like these little foot stand things you put your foot on for ergonomics. Well, I got one now that's good for you too. Yeah, I don't know why, but ergonomics made me think of like DEI. But it's kind of like one of those things of going, yes, it's a luxury. Maybe it is ergonomically better for the worker. Uh, but at the end of the day, people did the job without ergonomics forever. And a lot of it, that's why we have the problems we do. Protracted shoulders and back problems, neck problems, et cetera, compounded by the fact that people sit at those jobs for 8 to 12 hours and then they rush home, eat, plop down on the couch, and watch TV instead of like going to the gym because they're exhausted. And, you know, humans weren't made to sit all fucking day. So I'm not monetized yet. So fuck it, right? That's what we'll say. We'll drop a old F bomb. So,
Let go. Asteroid of fear.
on that note, welcome to another episode of Unfiltered Friday. How about that F bomb? It's a double F bomb. Unfiltered Friday. UFF. I hope everybody's TGI effing happy it's Friday. You see me uncomfortable, it's because I'm these hiccups, man. I got rid of them for a while, but they came back with a vengeance. And if I'm going to reach my goal of, you know, releasing this bad jammer at midnight Central Standard Time, then, you know, we'll just have to work through the hiccups. Hiccups, it will have to be. We'll press on. But I am half Mexican, so I can always I can go into Mexican Standard Time and be 15 minutes late. Yeah, you know the deal. I think I've told the stories. This birthday parties my wife and I go to. The the white part of us shows up early, and everybody else shows up late, and we end up help set up for the party because we're so early. But it works out because that's how my wife is. She's helpful. She she knows she's very much into like celebrations. Her love her love language is giving and seeing other people happy. And with that stuff being important to her, when she sees another mom like setting up and she needs help, she's very empathetic and jumps in there and helps out because there there were so many times as our older two were growing up that she didn't have any help. Um, you know, it was here and there. Some of the distant family members, they know who they are, but some of them, they were just all about them. They didn't want to help. It was mm, almost like punishment for the divorce in a way, but neither here nor there. It is what it is in the past. Our kids are growing up and getting their own places together with their partners and turning into adults. 22 or not 23, 21, about to be 22. And exci- exciting times. Everybody remembers that. Um, but also, oh, you hear that? The excitement of, you know, two people cohabitating together, partnering up, whatever you want to call it. And depending on how stringent you are to your views, you could say living in sin, shacking up, um, that maybe you shouldn't, but it's not really the norm nowadays. I mean, my wife and I, we were common law married before we were actually married. We were together 7 years, and you know, if you asked us each while we got married, we might give you a different answer, but we did and had a child, and we've been together 20 years. Only married 13, but I count 20. I go off the 20. So, and I'm proud of it because it's been a lot of work. A lot of work. It's been the thing I have done the longest. Like, some people spend 20 years in a career, they get to retire, they get a gold watch, um, a pension. Let me see, April 1st, 20 years. I'm pretty sure. Let me see what day that was. It was a Wednesday. She went to she was at this person's house, so I know she was there all day. So we did not do any elevation anniver- anniversary celebrations. 100%. I can tell you, faux show. It was just a come and go. But the hiccups and other breaking news, as a newscaster might say. Um, hmm. Let's see what I got in my notes here. All right, we'll start with this. Did everybody get their taxes in? At least an extension. Come on. If you got a dumbfounded look on your face, then maybe you're too young, you're too old, or maybe you don't have to file. Maybe you have an accountant. Maybe you live somewhere that doesn't have taxes. If it is, hit me up so I can know. But since we are recording Unfiltered Friday here at Thursday evening, I spent all yesterday, Wednesday, the 15th, doing taxes. Most of the day, I was kind of working up to it. I was going to do them Monday, but Monday got derailed somehow. I cannot remember why, remember how. If I look here at my thing, my wife did something. I had to do something, which otherwise prohibited me from doing that. And then Tuesday, I was going to wake up and do taxes, and my wife, um, well, she forgot to add an appointment in the calendar. She did tell me about it, in all fairness, but neither one of us added it to the calendar when she told me. When she, when she told me, I thought she had added it to the calendar, but I didn't double check. My fault. You see there? I don't want to blame her. Um, and I want to take responsibility for my part in the transaction. But either way, Tuesday was going to be tax day. And it was like, oh, hey, remember, like, you need to take so and so to this this appointment because we are caregivers. And I'm like, oh, I kind of totally forgot. And I'm watching the dog. Can't be leaving the dog alone. And so I'm going to take Sugar to my dad's while I take the patient to the doctor. But I still need to get like some exercise in. I need to pick up some prescriptions. And so, like, we're going to go walk first, exercise. And I want to take Sugar to the park because she doesn't really go. And we live out on in the boonies, and therefore it's like we don't let her off the leash too much because we don't want her going off or going near. If she's left to her own devices and copperheads are coming out about now, she'll end up sniffing one if we're not careful. And so, yes, sure, somebody's commenting below. They have those classes for dogs, snake identification, where they learn to smell them and learn what to do. Um, Especially if she's a little dog, that could be frightening. But we don't let her out, and sometimes we'll let her out and run. But I took her to the park, and so I was like, hopefully, because whenever I walk her, we have this eighth of a mile dirt road, and there's this little cut driveway that goes to somebody else's house. It's like a dirt road, and that's kind of the stopping point where we usually walk Sugar and turn around when it's morning bath or evening time. But then with me, it's kind of like she knows. She looks back at me, like a little kid, like with those puppy dog eyes, literally, and like, can we go past the little area there? And I'll be like, yeah, fine. So I've kind of made this habit of, unless I'm in a hurry, unless it's like take you out to pee before I go do something or got to go somewhere, um, I'll have the time, and therefore I will walk her to the end of the road. All right, we're gonna take a small pause for the cause. I'm going to take a drink of water. I'm going to pause this and hold my breath and see if I can get rid of these hiccups. One moment, and we're back. We'll see how long that lasts. I'm going to try not to suck any air. But as I was saying, Sugar will look back at me with those puppy dog eyes, and she's going to be like, hey, let's keep going. Let's go to the end of the road. And the first time, at least when we got to the blacktop, she kind of looked like she didn't want to go near it. And I think a car went by. And so she was able to have that awareness. But then the second time we went to the end of the road, she acted like she wanted to go a little further. So I was like, hey, might as well. I'll take her to the park. Um, she's been to like my dad's, different places, and she likes to sniff a lot. So, that's a whole thing. And I was trying because I'm there to exercise and try to get her for a walk. And so I need some steady state, not stop and go nickel and dime, less sniff every fucking 2 feet. So basically, I let her sniff a little. And then we made some laps. And surprisingly enough, there was they had a school bus with some kids there, looked like pre K, playing at the park. She wasn't ferocious or anything, didn't even bark at the kids, kind of wasn't even really interested, which was kind of cool in a way. Um, and none of the kids, in their defense, didn't swarm. Were like, oh, cute puppy dog, yada, yada, yada. And so we ended up walking. She kind of got the hang of it, minus this one corner we're rounding. She sees like a fire hydrant wrapped in a black plastic bag, and she must have thought it was the boogeyman because she just like, when a child lays down in the middle of the department store and a dog just kind of sits their ass and you cannot pull them, you're kind of walking and and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, you halting, screeching halt. And she sits her ass down. She's like walking and sitting in the mud. I'm like, mother effer, F and A cotton, F and A. And now it's like, oh, now I got a muddy dog. So we walked to the other side. We had had some rain the days before, and just happened to be, luckily, it flooded a little area where you couldn't pass through. So we had been turning around, essentially, as opposed to walking through. It was a little deeper water. But this time I let her retractable leash. I let her go out, get her feet wet, at least enough to clean the paws off so it wouldn't, you know, mess with the ride, the whip. And but she was pretty keen. I opened the hatchback. She jumped up in there, poured her a bowl of water. She didn't really want any. She was ready to get back to walking. She jumped out, sealed that up. But I think it was around the 18-minute mark. We're making the loops, and I back in like near the sidewalk, and she she like made a beeline to the driver's side door. She was ready to go at 20 minutes. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just have to finish my walk. Like, I was going to take the dog, drop her at my dad's, and let my dad watch her, and and have some company while I took this gentleman to the doctor. But first, we got to go get some prescriptions. And ay, ay, ay. I don't know about you, but everywhere I go is short. Do people not want to work? Do they not pay enough? Is there too many management hands in the cookie jar? Well, shareholders aren't getting enough. What is the scoop? I had the dog with me, so I'm in the drive through. And our drive through is already, they've had laminate signs that say, hey, we're kind of short staffed, yada, yada, yada. We should, for faster service, come inside. Huh. And of course, that's usually 10 or 12 deep, depending on the time of day. And after waiting for about 10 minutes, hitting the call button twice, had the license, everything ready to go in the tube station. And yeah, huh. Brings me back to tube stations in the ER. Can of piss or whatever. A urine sample bursts in it. And then they got to shut it down, and it's a pain. So, I digress. Huh. Oh, yeah. I was like, where did I go from? P to going in the pharmacy, tube station. Nothing's happening. Grab my license, grab my card. Luckily, I never sent it. Go inside with the dog. I'm not going to leave the dog in the car. So I'm not that kind of person. Nor do I want to be on the news and all things wherever I'm from for having left a dog in the hot car. How inhumane of you. It's true though. It's hot here already. She wouldn't allow it. Sugar's too yappy. She likes to go. But we go to the pharmacy. I wait my turn and I get the lady. This one lady, I like her. We had a moment, but she gave me some education. And I rightfully so apologized to her after said education once. Um, but anyway, she's like, I'll go into that later. We'll circle back. She's like, did the manager see the dog? I go, no, I don't think so. I go, nobody said anything. And, and she was like, I was like, well, if they were going to say something, I would just say, hey, I was at the drive thru. She goes, oh, that was you? I go, yeah. I go, I know you guys are shorthanded. I go, so not a big deal. And I said, I would just tell the manager, hey, it's like I got there at like 1:10. They lunch at 1:30. So I'm giving them 20 minutes. But everybody else too is there. That's fair. And so, yeah, I would say hire more help, figure it out. I've been thinking a lot about that this week. You know, I've been talking about that, where I was talking about the shareholders and thinking about growth. Um, we'll get back to that. So we get our medicine. I go drop off sugar for the viewers or the listeners. I'm eating some dehydrated marshmallows from Matt Woods. They're my absolute favorite. And little ASMR. I go to the park over by my dad's, finish up my walk. I needed another 40 minutes. Went to gas up. Sam's, it's over by my dad's in the park. Cheapest gas in town, but always a line. And as I'm getting gas, the client calls and cancels because he's dizzy. I'm like, well, shucky, shucky, quack, quack. Man, all that. I could have been at home doing taxes. Yeah. I could have went and got our medications. Um, hmm, yeah. So I was like, well, I could do this. I could do that. I think it was, I forgot what the choices were, but I think that was one of the days my wife had picked up a new client. I ended up being in town and able to get my daughter. Yeah, I think that ended up being my most important win, my favorite thing of the day. So sometimes it just works out that way. And because my wife had a new client, she didn't know what time exactly she was going to be done. So it kind of worked out. Sometimes it does. What is today? Today's the 16th. Really? There's no way. No way. No. Anywho, I shouldn't have opened this. No, while I'm recording. So yeah, he canceled because I was making sure that day, and giving someone a ride was my most important win. Yeah, somebody in need. But yeah, that was my most important win for the day. Was my ride home with the daughter. But let's go on to thinking about because I had class that night. That was a thing. The appointment was gonna um conflict with class. I was gonna be pressed for time. And that's what we had discussed about that appointment. And she was going to actually take him, but then she ended up getting a new client who took longer than anticipated, which is why I picked up my daughter. Um, but, usually it's the foot doctor and shopping. And if an appointment was at 4, by the time all that's done and you scooter around and get the groceries put away, it's usually a 3-hour trip. I allow 3 to 4 hours when I'm with him. That's about how long it takes. And so um, I would have missed class. But I was able to hit class, and it's important because I'm in week 11, finishing up week 11. Although I still got to there's still so much information. I still got so much to do. But I'm trying to get the basic certification down so I can start going. And I feel most comfortable with the medical portion of the knowledge, and I can test for that, I think, in 2 weeks or so. So I'm really tracking, really trying to hone in and putting the effort to the things that move the needle for long term goals, which is being an end of death doula, having that business, incorporating what we do into that. But that brings me to, um, well, I told you how much fun I had doing taxes. Um, and I got to spend a lot of time with my mom. She kind of assisted because no tax on tips because of the one big beautiful bill. we um, Uber's statement now broke out differently too in your tips, um, and broke out your mileage, and so I was able to. She kind of my mom's very meticulous, OCD, uh, a wizard. She's smart. My wife goes, I think she's even smarter than you. And I'm like, I don't think so. She might be, but she's quite extraordinary. She speaks another language. I'm smarter than her in some areas, but she's disciplined, smart, solid. That's my mom. Solid. Hmm. Not very talkative, not very social, but we had a good time. And we didn't get last year's tax return because I made a typo. And I knew as soon as I entered it in on the current tax year, I knew that's where the error was. I was like, that's why. because it was like last year they filed taxes, then they laid off like the whole fucking IRS, and then cut all the hours like from the veterans, laid off all the veterans, and where my wife and I used to get like 44, or our clients would get 44 hours of care. And like, so for some, I would be assigned 30 hours and my wife would be assigned 10 because she has her cleaning business and and assisting, caregiving. I mean, it's really everything. Caregiving is what it is when you take them to appointments, clean their house, help them, sometimes clean them. Um, so she has that as well. So she takes 10, I get 30. But then the VA went through, and she used to have another 9 when Buck was alive. But then they cut everybody to 11. So I think my wife took all those, and I did the Uber thing and found myself enrolled in a course. But they finally reapproved hours. So thank goodness I wrote the appeals. The appeals. Because the home health company I do some work for was asking me if I would write an appeal because it finally came through a year later. Um, but she was getting ready to reappeal. But so that was a blessing. That was good. And it's um it makes me think of um I used to dream and find errors like in my tax return. But I think I was saying, I don't know, slowing down, and it kind of reminded me, oh, I'm hitting the wrong mouse because I'm looking at my laptop here, but over here. um, was some of my happiest times. I can remember being in college. I cooked like 3 days a week, not full time. Um, maybe four. Like I could pick up shifts. Sometimes I would wait tables. Um, if they needed me in a pinch, but I usually expoed, and I was getting my double A, Associates of Arts, not Alcoholics Anonymous, and this is in Palm Beach Community College. But I like wake up, exercise, go for a walk, go to class, study, maybe go work a shift, play guitar, go see live reggae music. We didn't have a lot. We didn't have cable TV, um, but we didn't need a lot. I was able to eat at work most days. Um, you spend a lot of time going to the beach, but like playing guitar, reading, studying. And, at that time I only made like 13 bucks an hour, which is crazy because that was the late 90s. It's probably what they're still fucking paying cooks today. You know? Ridiculous. Ridiculous for that kind of hard work. Uncalled for. Shit that's instant gratification, instant feedback. if that person's going to want to come back and have something else. I mean, if something's good and I see their menu, or like James Souders, who was my wife and I's anniversary, I think, or her birthday. Um, where he worked in Fort Worth, but he's on doing something else. But what we had, everything we had was good, and I'm like, man, I'd go back there. But like that, I'm gonna try more. But it was like I had everything I needed. I was okay. You had your basic needs met. And I even got in a car accident and had to ride a mountain bike and walk. But our apartment was right across the street from where I worked, so that wasn't an issue. And I was a young, handsome, fit. I'm actually about the same weight. I'm probably actually more handsome now. Back then, I was probably more cute. It would be defined for a young to mid 20s short person. But shit, I'm gonna be 50 in a couple months, so I don't know what that is. Still 5'5", but probably in as good a shape. Eh, maybe, maybe. I don't know. Definitely much more of a person and man. But yeah, I didn't want for anything. I'm like, I'm okay. Like I'm happy. I wasn't in a hurry. The reason I decided to go back to school was because Lee Dan, our um, saute guy, he would come. That was his second job. He was a sous chef at Fifth Avenue Grill in Pompano Beach. And then during the day and at night, he was from Haiti. He was 45, jacked. And he's like, well, so my daughter can go to college. And I don't know, it's probably 23, 24 during this time frame. Because right when I moved back to Texas, I had just turned 25. Um, and somehow I have this picture in my head of Lee Dan squatting underneath the low boy, the cooler you have. It has all your shit when you work the saute station. Then you have a cutting board with a hood. It's got all your stuff. And I was like, do I want to be 45 fucking sweating over a grill so I can send my daughter to college all day working two of these? And if you work the end of the day, you got to fucking clean everything. It's like each chef has its shit and its perks. If you're in the morning, you're probably unloading trucks. You get stuck in the freezer. It's cold AF. Yeah. Depending on where you live, it can be colder AF. Uh, Back breaking work. Nighttime, you got to clean. That blows. So pick your poison. That's all that goes along with it. But, it brings me to this idea of growth too. But because I was happy in this little phase, and I knew, but I decided like, okay, I didn't want to do that. So I started back community college. Remind you, this is after having had a full scholarship off of active duty to the University of Florida, in which I dropped. And if you want to hear all about that, go to 2025, like the probably no, November, December of 24 and January of 25. There's going to be some series in there called My Journey, My Story, I think it's called. Go and listen to those. That'll tell you all about it. So I was going back, paying for my own college, using my tax returns to take two or three classes. Really enjoyed creative writing, arts, music. One of my music teachers, Tim Cookta, he played in the Knucklebusters Blues Band. So I used to go see him play at festivals and at the Poorhouse down in Fort Lauderdale, which was pretty cool. But went to college, and that kind of became the growth. I got my associate's degree, and then it was like I didn't know if I was going to go to like Florida Atlantic University there, um, where my friend Jamie at the time was going. Shout out Jamie Sullivan if you're out there listening. James Robert, then Adam Rosenberg. I forget you were my roommate for years, and I have no idea of your middle name. Lloyd, maybe Nathaniel, Adam Lloyd Rosenberg, probably Lloyd or Eloy. So you needed growth. I took on college, got the degree, um, but I didn't know what I was doing next because I was coupled with somebody, and she was in a phase of growth, and she was pursuing college because I'd gone to the University of Florida. She tried the Art Institute for like drafting, and I think she's considered like building construction, maybe, or what do you call it? Architecture. And then we moved to Gainesville into a 420 square foot apartment, and it didn't last very long. And I can remember driving back. I don't know what. I don't know if she went to work one day, something. And I was like, I'm leaving. I don't remember why. She just wasn't for me. I left her a Prince Thunderstick, a nice Wilson racket, a Hyperlight, honeycomb, wakeboard. So yeah, it was it was behind. There was a closet behind the front door as I was leaving, and I forgot to check the closet. So, nonetheless, I'm driving back. Adam, my roommate, U2 was like his favorite band. He had like 80 something CDs. Huge fan. I, not a huge fan. I like maybe a couple songs off Rattle and Hum. However, I'm driving through Pensacola like as I don't know what time of day. I can't remember when this happened, what time, how long it took me to get there. But I remember going over a bridge of water and hearing U2. It's a beautiful day. Mm-hmm. It's a beautiful day. Oh, this was May, I want to say, or It was April or May of 2001. Yep. Probably May. Probably like May 3rd, 4th, or 5th. Probably like paid the rent and was like, I'm out. You need to find something. Yeah. Probably didn't pay very much for that apartment. But I don't know. 24. I don't know. Hmm. Come back, work in the ER. Love it. Think I want to go to medical school. Got my associate's degree. Remember? Came back with that. Work in the ER. Feel like I got passion, purpose. Think I might want to go to medical school. You need a lot of volunteer. I can use my Hazelwood Act, which pays for tuition and fees if you enlisted from the state of Texas. And so I enrolled when the semester started and left the job and volunteered instead so I could commit my time. And then at some point, I came across healthcare law, which, yeah, destroyed. Yeah. Mm. Bureaucracy. That's the problem. That's the problem. So, yeah. Even one of my graduate school teachers, or no, one of my literature professors, when I was considering medical school, graduate school, because I also looked at this music production program at NYU, because music is something I've always loved. This is pre podcasting, whatnot, but it was kind of like a music business because I wasn't a musician per se. Um, I had only been playing a couple years at that time, but I was dating a girl who played the harp. Also, go back in my stories, and so I enjoyed playing music. And music business was like, now that I see like musicians and um, Kyle Smith, who like promotes, does all his own stuff, and you hear how nightmarish like labels, managers, or whatever it can be, and no wearing flip flops on stage or no this, no that. Always wanting to cut, but yeah, decided no, no medical school. Um, I was like, I could be, you could be a not sleazy manager in the music business. And he wrote me a recommendation, and he was like, I'll write you a recommendation for medical school or whatever. He goes, but I just don't think you would be able to be a kind of doctor you like to be, want to be. Not that you wouldn't be a good one, because you're going to have administrators. And you connect that with the healthcare law. I end up being the administrator. And I'm the one telling doctors, hey, close your charts, you're behind. We need to send this out for billing, yada, yada, yada. Um, Neither side is fun because the system is broken. Doctors don't get to be the kind of doctors they want to be. And people who actually want to make changes in the system don't get to be the kind of leaders that can effectively make change. And, we go back to this growth portion where I ended up getting a bachelor's in health and kinesiology, um, because I was much more attuned to that than I was. They usually like biology or chemistry majors. But I was like, the human body is what you're going to be working on. I'd rather have that. And with health and kines, it gave me enough elective room to take all the literature and art and stuff that I love, which is what a fucking education is supposed to be. Some well roundedness in there. Okay. So you're a better, well informed human being in different perspectives. That's what education was for. Um, yeah, unless you're doing something specific with in which they have trade schools and then engineering degrees. So, with a bachelor's in health and kines and having gone through weight loss, I ended up a personal trainer, and all in my story ended up in the hospital, level one trauma center. But then after 6 years of that, as a senior clerk, I needed growth. I didn't know what from where, but I just needed to grow. And I was happy. I was happy with the job, and I could have stayed doing that. But it was time to explore something different. We had a daughter on the way, or had a daughter. Maybe. I don't know. If I decided grad school before or after we knew we were pregnant. Probably after. But she suggested grad school. I declined. No. But somehow I have a master's in healthcare administration, so that's just the way the cookie crumbled. And that growth, as I've said in some previous episodes, it wasn't about the stuff you learn in the education. It's about meeting the people. It's about taking on the projects in which your, Zoom was more newer then. This was 2014. And so it's like, hey, you're going to be using this in real world, real time. You need to learn how to do projects because we did an intense week of class together and then went and did the rest online. And so we had people from Arkansas, Louisiana, different places in Texas. And therefore, we were doing projects together via Zoom and learning how to work together, because we all had different backgrounds as well. And so for me, getting up at 5 a.m., doing homework, going managing an ambulatory family practice clinic with an urgent care, um, all day, and then coming home to a 1 year old and wife, you know, firing people, learning new skills, learning how to be a manager, graduate school, homework, staying up late every Saturday at the library, all fucking day. Every Sunday at the library as much as I could, then a little time with my wife. 15 months of that is, yeah. So for me, that growth was I learned what I was capable of, what I was capable of juggling when I put my mind to it, when I want something. But also there was a factor of the support that my wife gave me, being a great mom, being a great wife, um, giving me the time and space to help me build this for us. So that was important. you know, it was a big deal. I graduated high school a year early. I didn't walk. I didn't go to any celebration. When I got my 4 year degree, I did not walk or go to any celebration. When I got my master's, I did not want to walk or go to a celebration, but my wife insisted because I had a daughter now. She needed to see that. Little did I know my grandfather wouldn't have 5 years left. So he came and it was nice, I guess. I'm glad I listened to my wife, and I can see it now. Like it was important for my daughter to see that. Um, because I'm just not that kind of person. Like I don't do things for like, oh hey, look at me, look what I got. You know, walking for high school for what? The fucking garbage they taught. Really? Huh. Now, if you're one of my teachers and you hear this, this is not saying you are garbage. I'm saying some of y'all probably were. I'm not gonna fucking lie. But the shit you had to teach as mandated by the state. Okay. Miss Fuller, typing, bookkeeping, um, home ec. But how about we stop teaching bullshit and start teaching real shit? Like fucking finance. Like I love my daughter's art school. I think that's important, but if you're gonna be a fucking nerd and do some nerd shit, which we need, very fond of them, then yes, go take calculus and algebra and all that other bullshit. If you're an art person, maybe you only need to go to algebra. And maybe some other stuff could be offered that is fucking useful. Like bookkeeping was one of my favorite fucking classes. Miss Fuller. She was kind of hot too. She was widowed though, but I could feel sense her pain because I knew. But very reserved, very pretty, very kind. Um, yeah, I thought she was kind of hot in a weird sort of way. Glasses. She looked smart and nerdy, and yeah, that was doing it for me as a freshman or whatever year I took that. I took her for a lot of years because I had bookkeeping, typing. Because I went to UIL for typing, and she taught that. Um, well, I just heard a bunch of stuff drop in another room. It's my shower mirror. Um, but yes, the education system is just fucking missing the mark on so many things. Like I'm a Gen Xer, 80s and 90s. They had wood shop, and I never took shop, so I don't know. They had Future Farmers of America. All I'm saying is there's some useful shit that they could teach kids. It all doesn't need to be the same. It could be treated a little bit more like college where people get to pick some of the shit they actually want to learn about. Because guess what? If they're excited about it, they will fucking pay attention and they will learn. How about that? You know? Yes, basics. Basic math, basic English, maybe some economics. I don't know about fucking history because history's written by the winners and the winners get to tell their own narratives. I don't know about the fucking accuracy. Gotta worry about that. However, some basic science, math, English, reading. Yeah. But I do think, well, I hear somebody going, funding, fucking figure it the fuck out. If they cut the T or what is it, the education board or something, maybe they can figure it out that way. But I mean, if your taxes go for it, what if you as a parent could vote for this and you're paying taxes? Can you go to school board meetings? I should know all this. I'm calling myself out for not knowing all this. Can you go to school board meetings? Can you say, hey, no, I don't want this. I want that. Um, but it could create teachers, passionate teachers about different subjects. But there are things that kids would be way better fucking equipped with coming out of high school into the real world with rather than a lot of the shit that that's why I graduated a year early because I was like, I am not wasting a fucking year on English 1 and 2, economics and government. No fucking way. It is such a fucking waste. I graduated because then they didn't offer anything fucking useful. And I joined the Navy. That was the best thing I could have done. Okay. But now my daughter has the options. We have the options. We can make it better. You want to know why people have fucking behavior problems and all that? Because you sit them in a room for an hour learning about a bunch of bullshit they could give two fucks about. You wonder why they fight. Okay? Pass notes, text, fucking bored to death. It can be done differently. Some people are just opting for homeschool, which I might do. Travel, let her experience, she was part of with Buck. She can be exposed to that. She can be part of the podcast. There's all kinds of stuff. But back to growth. I've been thinking it's like in business, they always say like if you're not growing, you're dying. Um, there's one guy's like, well, what choice do you have? 6 feet under, 6 feet forward, keep going. Yes, I get all that. However, like I have a doctor, used to manage a doctor, and they're like, growth, growth, growth. And he's like, I don't have anywhere. I already see this many patients. He's already like the second highest producer, sees the most patients. Like, he has a system, but where? Can't add to your panel unless you're supervising a PA or nurse practitioner. And then you have to review their stuff. You have to sign off on their stuff. So it's still more work for you. And he's kind of like, what if you have a nice equal ebb and flow? You're okay. He's okay. Like, you're just okay. Kind of like when I was in Florida, I had everything I needed. I found like I only made like 13 bucks an hour and I only worked like 3 days a week, maybe three and a half or four if I picked up. And you're talking about going in at four, getting off at 11. I still managed to save more money then for whatever reason because I just didn't need a lot. I was either playing guitar, reading a book, hanging out with people, or exercising, taking the dog for a walk, playing guitar. I mean, I didn't need a lot. And I was happy and I was okay. When I needed growth, um, I got some growth. You just got to be careful. Growth comes in mysterious ways. It's like I got in a car accident, had to ride the bike. All that did was up my other game because then I could be like, if you like a girl, you'd be like, hey, give me a ride. Or if a girl likes you, she'll offer you a ride. Maybe you return the favor for the ride. I don't know. I was in the restaurant business and you know how it is there. It's a little wild and cray cray between the wait staff and the cooks and everyone else. So the bartenders, their church key. Um, Good times. But yeah, it was fine. Just like I was fine the 6 years working in the ER. I loved it. I just lived. Like, we had a little system. We worked, we saw the kids, we took our little vacations, had our little stuff, and ate and whatever, and it was fine. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't 100% like if you're not growing, you're dying. If you're not physically, you're fucking dying every fucking minute. All right, closer to the end, unless they come up with something that's gonna, um, you know, make us live forever. But either way, you're dying. So you can anti friction it and try not to die. And would that be business considered growth? Swimming upstream, trying not to die, since you're naturally in a dying state. Or how about, like my man over here, pointing at the camera, just be. And how about you can just fucking be? Be okay. You have your basic needs met. See, I got pictures of my family behind me back here, a stack of books. Got Brendan Benson over there, record player, some Kyle Smith. I have everything I need. Okay? You probably do too. And if you don't, figure out whether it's, you need to clean up your act if you're an alcoholic or a drug addict or something and get yourself on your feet. Ask for help. You can get your basic needs met. So, but, you know, in a culture of more, 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 how much do you really need? We all get the same end. You're not fucking taking it with you. Okay? The minute you die, your shit becomes somebody else's problem. Unless you plan it out with me, which we're going to do. But on that note, go back and listen to my episode with Michael Bryan. He talks about that. Great episode. Um, but yeah, you know, what's wrong with just being and enjoying where you're at? We're taught so much to climb the ladder and pursue up. We forget to just pause for a fucking moment, take a look around, and enjoy where you're at by just being. And on that note, until next time, just go out and be the person that you want to meet. Peace. Hey, go. Asteroid of fear.